Hello and good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Happy Friday. Welcome to Breakfast with Boom. I'm your host, Mr. BoomStick XL. And listen, we are here. We have a lot of outstanding topics to get into. And uh, the returning son, the prodigal one himself, the crispy truth, Crispy Bomb. Good morning, kind sir. How you feeling?
I'm feeling good. I mean, we got two franchises that I absolutely adore in Fallout and Gears, having a lot of news going on. I'm just watching the socials melt. It's quite funny to me. But we're going to get into some other topics because I think enough's been said about those. But let's get into it.
Well, I mean, listen, Gears, we already knew that it was going to be there in some way, some form, some fashion. It was confirmed by the actor that plays Marcus's son, JD, that, he was specifically asking about canon related to his character. And he simply just said, well, I guess you're going to have to wait until June when the Gears team shows you. So, cat out of the bag. Yes, we're getting some Gears, but again, that story broke a couple of weeks ago, so we kind of knew. And obviously, we're all kind of sitting on on the perches, waiting for the announcement of the Gears of War collection, which is supposed to be Gears 1, 2, and 3, done in Unreal Engine 5. We'll see if that is vaporware or reality this June. Some financials came out for Microsoft, specifically for Xbox. I pulled a story this morning, which I will read verbatim by Tweaktown, of all places, which is a PlayStation centric website. And they had some pretty positive things about the numbers. What's interesting, Fuzzy Belvedere, is some of the messaging from some of the what can I call them that's not insulting? Knuckleheads of the interwebs that were, trying to twist and turn and flip and then do a backflip about how to make the numbers not really count because they're this publisher, but if Microsoft didn't own this publisher, they wouldn't have those numbers, but they do. So, but it counts, and then that really counts. It's kind of like an asterisk. Shut up. Just shut up, you knuckleheads, because I don't know what the hell you're talking about. They own Activision Blizzard King. Their money is Microsoft's money. What are we doing? Are you five? I don't know. And of course, no names are named here because, well, we don't live in those kind of drama waters. But good morning, kind sir. How are you feeling?
Well, I'm feeling great. It's funny watching time travelers up there try to come up with excuses of why things aren't given credit or what have you. But yeah, since they bought them, they collect the money. It's not going into Activision's only pocket; it's going into Microsoft's pocket, and they distribute it how they see. But we'll get into that. But glad to be here with you and Crispy. Man, just so much good news as far as gaming is concerned. A lot of people returning to some older titles, some newer titles right around the corner, a few releases, just this week and stuff. But yeah, we got some interesting stuff to get into. So let's do this.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be fun, folks. Strap in, grab your coffee, grab your Dunkin' Donuts, hang out for the next, hour and a half, 2 hours, because obviously this is a smaller panel, so this might be a pinch of under a 2 hour show, but that doesn't mean you're not going to get absolutely astounding, information that we're going to read verbatim right off of the sites that we got it, and of course our I'd like to believe valued opinion in the community. And of course, you have some Division one of my favorite games of last generation, one of my favorite new franchises of last generation. I enjoyed two. I didn't love two. I absolutely adored one. Probably because I'm biased and I live in New York. So, hey, running around the streets of New York and actually having patrolled some of those streets that I'm running around in is crazy. Because, of course, when you go to Times Square, they have that like little mini precinct that's there. That is 1-to-1. I'm telling you, because I didn't work there. Like, I didn't report there. I reported there only for overtime, and it's really small. Like, just that like little hub. It's like perfect 1-to-1. So of course, why wouldn't I love it? Because I was actually there and I'm playing into the game. It's just crazy. Let's open up with the Tweaktown story that popped up this morning. Now, this was written by Derek Strickland. He is at Deke Tweak. He is the owner and operator of Tweaktown. And the lead title of the story, ladies and gentlemen, is Xbox beats all previous full year earnings in just 3 quarters, and they could break $20 billion with a B by June. And he goes on to say this: thanks to the help of Activision Blizzard King, Microsoft Xbox Games division has made more revenue in 3 quarters than all previous full year periods combined. I mean, like ever. So that's a really big deal. Now, look, what does it ultimately mean for Crispy, for myself, for you, for Fuzzy? What does it mean? Am I a stockbroker? No. Do I have stock? Yes, right there. Sitting right there. Do I have a lot of stock that's going to make a difference? Not really. But here's the thing. If you just remove the numbers thing and you look at it as we should, right? We're looking at this as consumers, as brand fans, right? That's how we should look at this. I don't care so much about the numbers. They don't mean anything to me. They're not going to pay for Mrs. Boom and I our first home. They're not going to do that. We have to do that. So I don't care how much money they make. What I do care, Crispy Bomb, is the more money they make, the more investment they're going to continue to make into something like Xbox Game Pass. The more studios they're going to acquire to make first-party games that are going to go into a service that I subscribe to, that I feel is of value. Let's talk about these numbers.
Well, I mean, let's start with, in 9 months, they've already broken what they did the year before in a full
year, full 12 months.
We
so
call
9 months to 12. Yes.
Well, in a fiscal year can be 12 or 13 months, depending on how it falls. This year, it's more of a 12-month because of the leap year. That extra day actually skews some things because they try to have it fall. It's really their choice, but it's a reporting thing, so they have to have it fall where they feel is within that period of time, but also it falls right where they want it to as well. You know, I mean, June showcase, you never know if it's gonna fall after or before. I think with what we think is coming, I think it's gonna be a really good thing for them. And it's gonna really start the year right either way. The big thing is that how much of this is profit? Because you could look at, and he put it out there, hey, Sony is making more, okay, but Sony leverages themselves with hardware. Microsoft leverages with software.
Yes.
And generally, after the initial cost, kind of like a movie, software is all bank after that. You're not taking a potential loss on possibly the PS5 Pro, something like that. So these are things that you will get at the end of the year. You'll get the full breakdown, but it's intriguing. And gaming wise, it's very intriguing because if you look at what Embracer just had going on, you say, okay, if they are profitable and Microsoft looks at them as a huge pillar now, generally Microsoft's one of those that reinvests. Now, are they going to be able to buy a publisher right now? No.
But no, not at this particular moment. No.
But they could do like they've done with like Obsidian and other, like they didn't have to report any of this stuff. They could get a Crystal Dynamics. They could get a Eidos Montreal. Okay. And the way it's broken down, it's possible that they could sell them separately and not as a package. And that would be just like when they did the 5 Ninja Theory, Obsidian, all these purchases that they've made over the years that you didn't see the FTC or anybody else talking about. They can still do that. I know that like ABK still looms in the background because it's recent, but that doesn't mean that they can't make logical under the maximum purchase that wouldn't have regulators looking at them like something crazy. That being said, we have to see the breakdown as far as profit, because people ignore this, just like revenue, revenue, revenue. Profit's what matters to these companies. And if they see a percentage like 10, 15% extension of profit because of the ABK deal, that's going to make them want to invest more. So that's what it's really going to come down to. But right now, it's looking really good. And that's where I go and say, how dare people be like, oh, Xbox is closing shop? Like, you people are wild in the head. Like, that's all I got to say. Like, you're not comprehending what is happening. Okay. Microsoft has looked at all of these numbers. They have analytics till no end. They have twice, 3, 400 times the analytics that a Sony could have, because they have all of the Windows platform and they get all of this info from people searching and all these other things. Like, you have to realize they look at this stuff. And right now, Xbox is a brand that they want to invest in. They want to nurture. They want Phil to have some say and say, hey, now it's time to really ramp it up. And, we're all hoping that we're going to get to a point where we're going to stop talking about all of the things that have been negative over the years, exclusivity, all these things that really just hurt a gamer themselves. Like, there's going to be a point in time where gaming is going to be gaming, and that's it. It's not going to be this exclusive platform. Yeah, you'll have them, but that doesn't mean that's going to be the end all be all for the company to make new IP and new games. And that's what we want, don't we?
Well, I mean, that's what I want. I think that's what you want. I think that's what Fuzzy wants. And I think most people, we have over 300 people here. Yeah, I think that they want that as well. At the end of the day, I look, the whole exclusivity thing is a razor's edge that I am not comfortable walking. And it's because I'm an older gamer, right? I was raised with a different mentality. I understand that this is a new world. I understand that there are new business ideologies that go beyond my fandom. And I know, and I take the L on not accepting certain franchises to go here, there, and everywhere. I've said this 100 times before, and I'm going to stand by it. I'll die on the box, or I'll die on the hill, whatever you want to say. It's fine. But I do have an idea and understanding of where this industry is going. The closed walled garden that is particularly Sony, like right now, the dam is going to break open. And again, I'm still in the belief that I don't ever see a world, Fuzzy, where God of War is on an Xbox. I just don't. It's too weird to me, and maybe that's my problem. That's the same thing I say about, well, Gears, Halo, and Forza. I don't think. Do I think that they would do good on PlayStation? Probably do very good. Do I want to see them go there? No, I really don't. I think that there is something to be said about brand identity and platform identity, more importantly, that when you think of an Xbox, at least for me, I don't think of a PlayStation title. I don't think of MLB The Show, right? I think of Master Chief and Halo. That's what Xbox means to me. But when we bring this all the way back and we start talking these numbers, let me another excerpt from this. So the article, again written by by Tweaktown, says this, Fuzzy. Microsoft just reported its Q3 FY24 results, and it's great news for Xbox. The games division generated $5.45 billion in the period from January through March of 2024, up 50% year over year, and driven almost entirely by software and services. Q3 earnings have been significantly evaluated due to Microsoft recognizing Activision's revenues as a part of its own. ABK made up 61 points of the 62% growth in content and service earnings. Now, I this is where we get into the funny part of the conversation, Fuzzy, because this is the twists and turns that I was talking about to open up the show. Everyone's trying to be like, well, if they didn't have them, then, but they do. So let's stop the conversation. Let's stop the absurdity. Let's stop the stupidity. Let's put on the big boy pants. They made the money. It's their money. They invested $70+ billion into this deal. Activision stuff is Microsoft stuff. I don't understand what the problem is, Fuzzy. But again, Microsoft is in a position where they haven't had any really big first party games to come out. They obviously are going to use the power of Call of Duty to sell consoles this fall, and the losses that they took, for instance, in hardware sales, which I don't know, maybe it's just me. Everyone took losses, maybe not as much as Microsoft, but people aren't buying the console yet. When they put Call of Duty on that box, the casual audience will run out and buy a Series S for $200 with Game Pass and Call of Duty. And you're going and we will be talking a different conversation in the fall. But they are where they are. The money does count, no matter what these gymnastic clowns try to tell you. Let's talk about it. Oh, you're on mute, brother.
Sorry.
Right.
For the mental gymnastics that some of those guys try to do, I always look at it as, okay, so when your team wins the championship and they had all of those free agents or trades that came to the team, does it get an asterisk as well?
It does to some people.
Perfect.
Not when there's a parade. They're up there celebrating just like the rest of the fans.
I love it.
Oh, I know about parades, buddy.
but that's the thing. It's like you can't go back in time and be like, well, wait, if it wasn't for ABK. I mean, it doesn't matter at this point because ABK's money is Microsoft's money. They're the ones writing the checks for the employees. They're the ones collecting the profits from the sales. It's not like ABK has its own bank separate from Microsoft, and they have their own no money, or like I usually call it's like their private stash kind of thing. That doesn't exist in the business world. So at this point, moving forward, it's counted. Whether they bought them or not, it counts. I don't know why people want to cherry pick things like this. It's like, look at the automotive manufacturer or the automotive manufacturers. And that's just one of those things that, because I'm familiar with that, I'll look back at it as like, well, GM was a conglomerate of a lot of separate brands, and Cadillac was one of its first purchases. Do they not count those cars being sold as a GM car? Yeah, they count them as a GM car being sold. I don't, at the end of the day, it's great to see that they're doing well with their recent business acquirements or acquisitions. And the cool thing is that's more than likely going to go back into the brand. Could it go elsewhere? Sure. It's going to go in some of the shareholders' pockets. Sure. It's going to go in some of the executives' pockets. But all in all, they're going to want to continue making that kind of revenue. So it's going to go back into reinvesting in certain IPs, reinvesting in the studios working on new IPs, reinvesting on, the support or continued support for a lot of these live service games. So them making more money, whether it's through ABK alone or, through Magic Fairy Dust, whatever the case may be, it's still beneficial to those that are on that platform. So if you're an Xbox gamer, whether you're on PC, Xbox, a Samsung TV, your phone, just understand that these increases in revenue should help when it comes time for more titles coming to your platform. But that's to me, that's all that really matters. And plus, the shares are doing well, so that helps while I'm retired. So, but outside of that, yeah, it's good to see that ABK was a solid pick for them.
I mean, again, the size of the purchase, of course, it's the biggest in history, right? It's certainly it's the biggest in tech. It's the biggest in gaming. And there are a multi-tiered reason for it, right? Simply put, the mobile aspect, Microsoft as a company went from 0 fingerprint to a whole palm print, lining up right alongside the Apples and the Googles of the world with King. Right? That's a fact. How they intend to add to that, not my business, and I honestly don't care because I don't really play mobile outside of, let's say, for instance, like Words with Friends. I do dabble in Candy Crush every now and again, but my main go-to that I play every day is Marvel Snap. I really do. I'm a Marvel stan. Marvel Snap is amazing. But there's also 2 other tiers. Now the PC side with Blizzard, and we're going to get into a Blizzard story today because it's a little bit disappointing, and we got some clarification of who's responsible for Blizzard BlizzCon 2024 just being canceled. It's just not going to be a thing this year. It's a little disappointing. I mean, again, I haven't been to one. I know a lot of people in this chat have been, so I understand that there's disappointment there. We actually quite a bit to get into, but real quick, I want to read something here. Xboxer Mike actually put something in here pretty interesting. It's great. It's a great point, Mike. He goes on to say, if the report was negative, those same guys would be the first to connect ABK to Xbox and then be like shouting, "You see, Xbox is killing Activision." And that is a perfect point for sure. Because again, if it's positive news, it's like, well, it doesn't really count, Boom, because yeah, and that's how they sound, by the way. That's a real iteration of their voices when they get to their high places. Look, it's a big deal. Like I said, I personally could give a flying you-know-what about the money because it's not personally affecting me. It's not filling my coffers. It's just not. But as a consumer, I see why this is important because the value that I have for Xbox Game Pass, which a lot of people in this chat do, what you're getting is almost ridiculous. Like there is just not enough time in the day, not enough hands, and not enough hours to play all of the games. And what's great about Game Pass is that it's a plethora of different genres. Again, not every game is for every gamer, but there's going to be something in there for you for your $16.99. And you know what? That's great. You should be able to enjoy it. Or your $16. Real quick, let me just catch up one of you. We have a super sticker here from Max360. He simply drops a super sticker of $3. Brother, that's very kind of you. Thank you so much for the generosity. Glad to see you back here. I kind of want to segue into it's something that Satya Nadella had to say regarding this particular post. Let me see if I can find it here. Now, obviously, got to give credit where credit is due. Hazardor Gaming, as he does almost every day, posted this. And he was posting a story that was written by Tom Warren of The Verge. And Tom put out a tweet regarding what Satya Nadella had to say. Now, why I wanted to segue into this is because, again, the same knuckleheads that are claiming the Activision money isn't real and it doesn't count, which is, I mean, just take that for what it's worth. It's ridiculous. Tom Warren says this when he tweeted, Microsoft CEO Satya Nadella on cross-platform Xbox games. And Satya Nadella said this, folks. Finally, we're expanding our games to new platforms, bringing 4 of our fan favorites to Nintendo Switch and Sony PlayStation for the first time. In fact, earlier this month, we had 7 games among the top 25 on the PlayStation Store, more than any other publisher. Obviously, throwing that dig into Sony, and this is why that particular statement, folks, is important for a couple of reasons. Because one, Sony is looking at this, and I'm telling you right now, MLB Show is not the end of it. Do not be surprised if you see Spider-Man go over. I'm telling you right now, you could laugh at me all you want. When it happens, come back and give me a pat on the ass for it, because they're making no money on 2018. It's literally sitting there. No one's playing it. It's collecting dust, and they can have it ported over by the studio that knows Xbox tech and Insomniac, and it would sell millions on that platform. I already platinumed it Will I buy it? Yeah, I'll probably buy it and get 1,000 out of 1,000 achievements. I really enjoyed Spider-Man 2018, like a lot. So I would buy it again. And if it's a double pack with Miles Morales, sold. $70, not a problem. If it's in Game Pass and they do some sort of Game Pass deal, winner, winner, chicken dinner. But what's interesting, Fuzzy, I want to go right back to you, is this statement I saw. You read the socials. I don't respond. I just read. I watch like Batman from a perch. And the running narrative was like, you see, everything Xbox has is going third party. Everything is going. But you know what's interesting? Hiroki Totoki literally said the same exact thing, different words, of course. When that conversation came up, ladies and gentlemen, I remember the responses. No, he didn't mean other platforms, Boom. He meant PC. It's a big difference. I don't think it is. I think these are two money men saying the same thing with different words. And I don't understand how one could be looked upon as the dam has been busted open and every Xbox game is going here, there, and everywhere. But PlayStation, oh no, those games, they're too important to be captured. So no, they're only going to PC, Boom. You don't know what you're talking about. Let's break that down, Fuzzy.
Well, here's a key thing to think about. What is Xbox hinting at becoming more like? A PC. So if PlayStation goes full on PC, guess what? They're going to wind up having them at least accessible on that upcoming hardware. They're looking at adding additional stores to the Xbox platform. So if you want to, have access to your Steam games, which, hey, guess what? PlayStation games are available on Steam already. So I could totally see it happening that way, probably sooner rather than later. But at some point, Sony's going to look at other opportunities on how to get, revenue out of these games. When a game is 5 years old and people aren't returning to it, quite like if you look at on the opposite side of the street, Xbox has something like Fallout now. Yes, they own the IP. I know it was a Bethesda title, but guess who owns it now? Xbox owns it. TV series comes out. Tons of people flock right back to Fallout 76 and Fallout 4 and Fallout 3 and Fallout New Vegas. And with those titles, they had a sale. The title is what? Some of them are 9+ years old. Others are like 6+ years old. Yeah, they're on sale, but people are buying them up. People are, it's at its highest concurrent, player base just on Steam, not counting like what we saw from Bethesda as far as their Fallout numbers with the 1 million concurrent on 76. And then I think it was like 5 million across all of, the franchise.
In one day, in one day, 5 million players across all Fallouts. That's crazy. That's insane.
Sony has got to be looking at that and be like, that could be us. I mean, is anybody still playing any of the, Uncharted's? I mean, maybe there's some people playing the multiplayer. I don't know. I don't remember many people playing the multiplayer 5 years ago. So maybe there's still some that are, daily logging in and shooting at people, the same people that shoot at every day. But I don't know. I think Sony's going to look at the big picture and say, hey, that could be us. We could use some of these older titles and be like, hey, we'll put this older title over, just as a test to see, if Xbox gamers will buy it. If they bite at it, hey, we'll put another, treat over there for them, type of thing.
What was that shooter that came out, Fuzzy? The one that was super hard that didn't have a save.
Returnal.
Yes, that
would be a nice test. I mean, like it's already on PC.
Yep.
And the thing that's funny to me is that it has co-op, which is more of an Xbox platform type of thing. I don't see as many people talking about the co-op. Even I tried to get people to play co-op with me on Returnal. Not many people were like, "Oh, that game's too hard."
The phone, Fuzzy.
Yeah, it's like it's less hard if you're playing co-op, but whatever. I guess I was late to the picture because I waited until it was on sale. I wasn't giving them the full 70 on that one, but it is what it is. But there are titles that aren't their tentpole titles that would easily transition over, and I don't think too many people would make a stink about it. I mean, we've already talked about the Helldivers possibility. Yes, it's not first party, but it's a title that they or an IP that they own through that they have another studio work on for them. That's going to be the beginning. Like, so will that be the dam breaking on the PlayStation side when a Helldivers appears, or maybe a Returnal appears? And then the next step is going to be when they start doing day and date on PC, which we've already had things like Forspoken on the Xbox PC store. We've already had things like Death Stranding on the PC store. Now, granted, I understand that Death Stranding was a different publisher. It was published by 505 Games, which they love money, so they have zero F's for where it goes as long as people pay for it. So, that's why it wound up there. And Microsoft gave them a bag as well as putting it in PC Game Pass. So, hey, they, got money from both ends at that point. But with Forspoken, maybe Square was like, yeah, let's try this out, because it isn't looking like this thing is going to sell, and it didn't meet their expectations. In fact, they kind of merged that studio into one of their main studios. So we all see how successful that game was, being a console exclusive only on PlayStation. But I think there is potential for us to see a lot more PlayStation titles. But in 5 years, I don't think any of the stuff that we recognize as the console space is going to be what we see, or what we won't recognize it, basically. Like, if you think the Steam Deck and the ROG Ally and things like that are cool, I think that's the main push, or the main future moving forward. Yes, they'll still be under your TV consoles. Yes, there'll still be, PCs that don't, cater to any particular storefront, because, hey, you can choose to go to Steam or wherever. But I think those blurring of those lines are going to be sooner in our future than a lot of people expect. So yeah, I see, PlayStation looking to make some of that same type of money that Xbox is doing with, putting their games everywhere. And in the grand scheme of things, as long as we get it in Game Pass day and date, I at this point I've given up on worrying about the exclusives terminology at this point. A lot of stuff is on PC, and hey,
A lot of people
I'm
playing
still
on PC
doing Game
now.
Pass on PC and my console, and kind of loving that experience. So we'll see what Microsoft does in the long term, but I don't foresee them going full slate immediately. But yeah, I could see a
I
few
could see a
choice number
test or
ones.
two.
Yeah.
It's interesting. First of all, let me thank EJ Jackson, very generous member of this community, great friend of the channel. He drops not only a $2 super chat, but he has given away a Tales of Kenzera, which is an outstanding indie game. That's very kind of you, brother. If you did get it, I believe it was Pick on Fusion, because he says many thanks, EJ Jackson, much appreciated, boss. So if you did get it, that's awesome, brother. Congratulations to you, and once again, thank you, EJ, for donating that into the chat. That's very kind of you, and thank you so much for being here and dropping the $2 super chat. Crispy, look, I was I mentioned Returnal. I have never played it because I didn't like the whole save thing, so I kind of waited until they fixed it. Would I buy that on Xbox? Sure, I'd give it the old college effort, because like Fuzzy was saying, I didn't even know there was co-op. I had no idea, to be honest with you. But I was looking at something else. Now, I think this would stop the presses personally. If you think Spider-Man going over is like breaking the internet, I don't, because they don't own it. Yes, it's first party because Insomniac made it, but they don't own the IP. The IP is owned, especially the gaming rights are owned by Disney, which is why they were paying 25% of every sale. Now they're paying upwards of 35%, which is bonkers. But what about Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart? The one that needed the SSD, the power of the magical SSD that every PS5 has. Well, I pulled a story from gamingbolt.com regarding the updated sales. Now, this was as of, let's see, when do they have here? February of 2023. But this was posted on December 19th, 2023, just at the end of last year. and they have a confirmed number that the total sales was only, and I mean only, 2.7 million copies. I don't think that's great. Now, is that an average you would ask? No, it's actually not, because the remake of the original Ratchet and Clank sold 7.5 million copies. So, Rift Apart, if you didn't play it, was brilliant. It's absolutely amazing. But only 2.7 million people bought it. I don't know if that is a part of bundles that they had. I don't know if that's actual sales, but this is what I have in front of me. Ratchet and Clank going to multiple platforms. I know it's on PC. I know you can run it on a piece of toast. You don't need the SSD. You can run it on a piece of toast. Plug it in, plug the controller into a toast, and it plays supposedly. But that's a game that could go over. That would be a great test game. Because look, folks, I know if you're a Sony player and you're in here and you're yelling at the screen, listen, I'm not saying this is going to happen. I have no authority whatsoever to suggest this is going to happen. But if you have Satya Nadella, who literally just said in an interview, oh, P.S. by the way, we had 7 of our games in the top 25. We were the most the publisher in that list. That's a very ginormous dig at Sony. And if you don't think Sony is looking over and saying, look how much money these MFs are taking from us. Yeah, we're getting 30%, but what are we doing with Rift Apart? Has anyone bought that in the last year? Has anyone bought Spider-Man 2018? Probably not. Has anyone bought Returnal? I'm going to be honest with you, unless it's in a humble bundle, you're not getting it. Right? No one's racing to the store to go buy these games. They're literally sitting collecting dust. Give it the old college effort. See what Xbox brings to the table. I don't think it would be that much to port. But what are your thoughts, Crispy Bomb, regarding, one leader on Xbox saying, hey, we put these 4, we're looking to expand, and that being taken as, Xbox is doomed. They're giving up the box. But when Hiroki Totoki says it, and people said, "Oh no, boom, just a second, it was because of the translation. That's not what he meant." Because that's what I heard. I don't know, man. I just think that these mental gymnastics, these economic champions of justice, just a bunch of boobs. What are your thoughts, man?
Well, Satya is the CEO of Microsoft, right? The entire company.
Yeah.
Isn't Hiroki the CEO of Sony proper?
He's the money man. Yeah, absolutely.
CFO. Sorry, that's actually worse. That's actually worse.
Well, he's considered to be the Amy Hood of PlayStation, is who he is.
So he's basically one step below. All right, and he's the money man. He's the one that crunches the numbers. He's the one that says, okay, we have IP that have platforms that haven't been released on, including Nintendo, by the way. You never know. When they come out with the Switch 2, I think, we'll see where Nintendo's at as far as if they're going to allow more developers to be on their platform, because they really need to hit certain benchmarks. I mean, the Switch, you can love it or hate it. It is not in the graphical fidelity of what Sony wants from games. And the one thing I always give Sony credit for is they try not to PC. They've had issues with in the past. They seem to got together now, but they try not to release games that are really messed up on other platforms. And we look at them and you say, okay, well, Sony has a different aspect to them, and it's movies and TV. They understand how to work with other companies that have platforms like Netflix, like Hulu, like all of these, Peacock. Okay. They work with them. They develop an IP within the movie or TV space. but it seems they don't know how to generate hype for the gaming. And this is all new to us, because if you take an IP that was gaming or an old IP, like Karate Kid, for example, that was developed by Sony. The new hotness on Netflix, Sony did that. Maybe you don't pay attention to the drop screens, but they work with other people. So why couldn't they do that in gaming? Well, the loudest ones, the ones that want, a game to play itself, which we might get into or not, but I laugh at them, because you look at Ratchet and Clank, like you just said, and that's a beloved franchise. It really is. I mean, my childhood had Ratchet and Clanks involved, many of them. Okay. Do I have achievements? No, they didn't exist. Do I have any of that? No. I beat the game. I enjoyed it. Okay. But there comes a time where if you're not going to sustain and help the game be better, even on another platform, why even bother? I mean, clearly PlayStation gamers didn't care. Rift Apart. I mean, 2 million with the amount of player base they have? 2.7. I'm sorry. Somebody might get mad about that.
Well, you know what? Let me add some context to that, because obviously, okay, so someone in the chat, let me just make sure. I love giving her credit where credit is due. Who said this, man? I think it was, okay, so Mr. 7 Digit said Ratchet and Clank flopped on PC. So I went back and I tried to find the numbers, and they sold 1.1 million added to that. So the total number, and I have it here in front of me, folks, the total number between the PS5 release and on July 26th of 2023, they released Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart on PC. They added an additional 1.1 million for a total of 3.97 million units by the end of that June, which was in 2023. I don't know if there's been anything added to move it to the 4 million mark, but when you consider PC being as big as it is, only moving 1.1 million copies, I think that if this is a single player game at its core, it is an amazing game. It is a fantastic game. Please, if you did not play this and you were a platformer guy or gal like me, go play this freaking game. It's gorgeous and it's fun. But I think that there is an audience to be had on other platforms. Now, if the Switch 2 could run it, put it on Switch. The Xbox can clearly run it, put it there. These are games that I really do think that once Microsoft continues to make money on Grounded and Sea of Thieves, and maybe a couple more people buy Pentiment, which is probably not going to be much, and maybe Hi-Fi Rush hits, gets lucky on a fervor and people understand how great of a game it is and they start buying it. Sony's going to look at that with a keen eye and be like, they're making money on our platform. Let's make some money on theirs. And I think those 3 titles would be massive. Now, would it crack? Would it break the PlayStation nation? I think it would. Very similar to what happened with Xbox. And again, I don't want to go too crazy here, Crispy, but I'd love to get your opinion on this. Let's say Monday morning we wake up and we get a message or we get an article from The Verge, and Tom Warren's like, "Oh my God, it's happening!" You get that GIF right from The Office. Oh my God, it's happening! And Spider-Man, Ratchet and Clank, and Returnal are going to Xbox. People would lose their shit.
I mean, they would. They would, because, and this is where being a gamer is different. I've had people troll the hell out of me and say, Gears is going to PlayStation, and I laugh at you. I say, you don't understand what Gears means to Xbox. You just don't get it. Okay, this is not just gameplay. Like, the gameplay, challenge me. I King David, sorry, bro. There's only one Gears. All right, you're enjoying that game. That's great. It don't go there, bro. Okay, Gears is graphical fidelity at its finest. Okay. We see people all the time talk about Gears 5 and how amazing that game looks. All right. And that was in 2019. Okay.
Game's
Think
old,
about
dude.
that.
Old.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
And that's where I say, like, relax. Okay. There are certain points like Halo has it's Xbox. Okay. Like, and you have to realize, and this is the same argument from before. That was a Bungie IP, people. Okay. They just purchased it from them. But Halo has that. I mean, Halo Infinite, I didn't play the entire single player, but the beginning of that game is one of the greatest beginnings I've ever played. I'm not going to lie. All right. Like it is so, it has cinematic, it has feel, it has everything else, but also like I beat Reach, I beat 3. Like I Master Chief is the Master Chief. Like, and I think the one thing Sony's seeing right now is that this Fallout TV show has said, oh, old games are good now.
Who plays those old games, damn it?
But so
Right.
this is where Sony comes into a problem. Their old games are like 2 years old, and they just remaster or remake them, whatever you want to call it. Xbox is saying, okay, like we're going to, and I want to say it doesn't look perfect, but Fallout 4 does look way better than it did. Because I've been playing it recently, and I played it last night. I played it last night, and I was like, okay, I see what you're doing. It's not crazy, but if you've played the original Fallout 4 and then you play this, you can see it. Okay, but that's what I say. Like, you gotta understand what an old game means to people. And sometimes that old game is their game. And then you see all these TikToks or these Facebook posts or whatever it may be of people that are absolutely obsessed with Fallout. And then you have all these people that have never experienced it but watch the TV show, and they say, wow, this like reminds me of the TV show. And it's like all like melding together. And Sony is super jealous right now. They are. They don't know how to nurture IP that they've had before. Look at Twisted Metal. That TV show was really freaking good. I'm sorry. I loved it. All right. And I love Twisted Metal as an IP. But why in the heck haven't you brought out at least a remaster? Because it's that old. Okay. Like there's a certain time where you say, like, yeah, you could re-release this with your new TV show IP that you consider new, and all of a sudden it becomes a big thing again. But the problem is that we look at a game like Ratchet and Clank. Ratchet and Clank has so many different games involved in that universe, and people ignore them. And that's why when they came out with this full-on remaster of multiple games, it sold 7+ million. But you can't even hit close to that with the new game. It's because people have,
it's so good, dude.
But people have fatigue.
Yeah,
and they also don't have fatigue because they know that they have fatigue. They heard the name before, and they don't know the actual story around it. And I think that's something that Xbox needs to nurture. And that's where I go and say, like, yes, please bring out the Phoenix Collection, because I think there's a lot of younger people that have no clue how good the Gears story is in the first 3. And then it does meld into 4 and 5, and then you bring out 6. You have to be strategic. You have to be a chess player. And I feel like Microsoft has always been the chess player. DRM, all these things that we've talked about for years. they TV. Well, now, hey, TV ain't looking that bad, is it? Because it's a different medium.
Yeah,
it's a different thing.
Well,
It's
Microsoft
not,
always goes first, and they get the arrows, and that's just what happens, man.
and what I'm saying is that Sony sees PC as their first step. It's one step, okay? But in 5 years, you don't know what they're going to do, because at the end of the day, they have a duty to their shareholders, just like Microsoft does. And if you ignore that, you got a problem in your head, because it's clear as day.
Yeah, listen, the industry is changing. A lot of us old dogs, the old guard, some we're going to be really bothered by, and some others we're not. And listen, at the end of the day, just play where you want to play. I just think that we're going to see a gaming world where more games are pretty much everywhere, and I mean literally everywhere. And again, I'm going to die on the hill as being the old guy in the room, and it's fine. But like I said, those three particular games, I think, would be great test subjects to see if Xbox gamers would respond. I think we would. I'm going to be honest with you. I would buy all three of those games on Xbox. I own 2 of the 3, and I would buy them on Xbox. I wouldn't even have a problem with it. I know Quan the Terrible in there saying, well, he just said something pretty funny. Where are you, Quan? Let me see what you said. Good morning. He says, I don't have a problem with Sony games either. They don't belong on my Xbox though. Like what? And and again, he's probably an older gentleman like myself who just has this, trained ideology that just doesn't sit right. That's fine. Listen, we're old men. It's fine. Real quick, the Longhouse Gaming Podcast is in the chat. Those are my brothers. I love those guys. I think that they are such a breath of fresh air to the community as a whole. They're one of my favorite new podcasts. I don't miss an episode. Unfortunately, with that said, I missed last night's, but they know when I'm cleaning the crib, I'm listening to them. They're funny. They're great. So here's the thing. I'm all about helping others. Folks, we do this all the time, right? This is just what we do. And I have a voice, and I have a platform that's gotten a little bit of it's got some size, right? We're almost at 15K. I think we've earned your trust. I'm gonna ask a favor live on the air. Now, I don't know anybody else that does this, but me and Mrs. Boom, we proud to do this for others, because it's all about helping others. I'm gonna drop the link to their YouTube channel right now. They are at 1.9K, meaning that I don't know how close, because I don't have their stats, but they're close to hitting 2K. Again, big deal for a little podcast that exploded on the scene. So Longhouse, this is for you, brothers. I'm throwing it in there right now. Please, if you're not already subscribing, what are you doing? If you're not, that's just some crazy talk right there. Here it is. Go subscribe. Can we get them to 2K live on the air? Now, if any of the Longhouse wants to jump on the pod for a few minutes, kind of drop your bars, let people know who you are, hit me up in the DM. We'll get you on. We'll get you out. But I just dropped it. I'm going to do it again, folks, because we are all about helping others here, and we want to see everyone succeed. And if there's a podcast that I could personally suggest, it's the Longhouse Gamer Podcast. It is phenomenal. They do 2 shows a week, along with, obviously videos. They're doing what I'm doing. They're cutting stuff up. They had Lord Cognito on. I think it was on Monday. Obviously, Lord Cognito, that's the voice of the Iron Lords right there. And that's a big get. I believe last night's guest, I don't know the schedule. I think it was GRG was on there. Was that who was on there last night?
Grown Woman Gaming, yeah. No, yeah, GWG.
So, GWG. Okay, yeah. So they were supposed to have the whole crew on. I got it in the queue. I definitely got to check it out. So I saw some people talking about it, but so that's my want for today. Let's get them to 2K live on the air. I think we could do it. We've done it before for many people. We did it for Ham Solo. We did it for the Iron Lords. We did it for other podcasts. I don't want to mention the name, because when you name it's like Voldemort, he shows up and it's like a disaster. I don't want to do that. He's not cool anymore, but I still helped him nonetheless. Let's move on. Let me just get these timestamps, folks, and we'll move on to the next topic. Now, okay, so I have a bunch of them, right? I have a bunch of them. This one is pretty interesting. I actually think it's ridiculous. I find it so ridiculous that I can't believe I'm actually about to utter the words to everyone. Sony has patented Fuzzy Belvedere, an autoplay mode, and I don't understand what's happening in life. Games, why chat? We have over 700 people here live, right? Why can you please explain to me why you play games? Because I'll tell you why I play games. One, I've been a gamer since 1978, so I'm an old prick, right? But I've been gaming forever. It's my only vice. I mean, I like toys, I like collectibles, I like comics, I like graphic novels, I like anime. I have a lot of vices, but but I don't smoke, I don't drink, and I've never done drugs. Like I can count on two hands how many drinks I've had in 53 years. It's just not my bag. So my bag is gaming, and I do it because as much as I enjoy reading a book, I like visual, and I like being a part of the story. I like controlling where that story goes. If I lose, it's because of something that I did. If I win, it's something because I did triumphant. That's why gaming's amazing. And gaming comes in every form and fashion, whether it be a puzzler, whether it be a point and click, or an action game, or something like, for instance, which I'm absolutely in love with, and it's going to be my top 10, Tales of Kanzara. It's just a brilliant story. But for me, it's a personal story because the way he talks about his dad in this story and what he talked about in his YouTube video, his shoes, your feet, brought me to tears because I talk about my pops like that. Like my pops is my hero. But I play games, Fuzzy Belvedere, well, for a lot of reasons. One, to unload stress, get away from the world. This world sucks most times than not. Sometimes you just want to lose yourself in your headphones in a dark room somewhere playing the story. This thing to me is the most ridiculous, wacky thing I have. I mean, are you going to earn trophies? What are we doing here, Sony? Like I'm at a freaking loss for words, and I could talk to your ears fall off. This to me is just bonkers. Can you make sense of autoplay? Because I think this is going to happen, and I think there are going to be people that autoplay the shit out of their games, and they won't even watch them. They'll literally autoplay it, shut the TV off, and go do the dishes, and they'll come back to 17 trophies. Like this is just. I don't understand it. Again, not the biggest topic, but it's so stupid. I had to talk about it. Let's try and break this down.
Hey, this is perfect for those Twitter gamers. You know, the people that play Twitter, they
Indeed.
can now autoplay their game and play Twitter at the same time. Two birds, one stone. No, in all seriousness, it's funny to me. I mean, they try to explain it as, for the grindy or repetitive parts. Well, a lot of games like Division, I love to death. I love this Division 1 gameplay you have here. It can be grindy at times, but I love that game loop. You know, you shoot stuff, they drop loot. You pick it up, hey, it's better than what you had on. You shoot more stuff, they drop. It's that's repetitive, but hey, it's fun. And if they're going to have this autoplay thing kind of be in place of fun, I don't know why you would game at that point. I don't know. I do understand a lot of people have busy lives. Like I'm fortunate. I've been able to retire, so I have plenty of free time to game. Not everybody has that, and I understand that. So if you're working 8 hours, 10 hours, 12 hours a day, you want to come home, play a couple hours. Oh, you got to do something with the kids, do something with the wife. You got to organize stuff in the garage, or do lawn work. Whatever the case may be, you only have like this tiny window to game. Yeah, I could see it being for those players. So that way, when they do get back to Destiny, or they do get back to one of those types of games where you need to grind sometimes to at least have some gear to at least do the stuff with your friends, I could see it making sense. But like at that point, it almost feels like the microtransactions that, Assassin's Creed has sometimes, where it's like, oh, time savers. Do you want like thousands of materials so you can upgrade your gear? without having to kill a billion animals and rob a ton of jars and chests and stuff. Yeah, just pay $10 and we'll save you 2 weeks worth of grinding type of thing. But kudos to them for thinking outside the box on how to monetize their customers. So I don't plan on using this. Like, I barely do cutscene skips. Like, I'll skip a cutscene if I've already played the game at least once, maybe twice. Like, perfect example, like the Division 1, I played it the night it launched. I think I've always done 4 characters for the Division. So I've done the main storyline 4 times and leveled up all characters. So by the time I get to the 3rd character, 4th character, I might skip some of the cutscenes. I already have it memorized. I already know what the NPCs are going to say. So it's like, just skip. So maybe that would help to, like, instead of having it where the game gives it an option to skip to level 20 for like either a fee, or sometimes in some games, like I think Division even had it where Division 2 after the New York DLC, you could skip straight to 40 after you at least had one character make it. So you don't have to go through the whole grind all over again. I guess that would be along the same lines, but if this is playing the game for you, I wonder if people are going to record that footage and be like, see, I'm gaming. And no, actually the AI is gaming for you kind of thing, but we'll see. I mean, I'll be honest. I've done similar things with Gran Turismo 7, just for the fact, early days grinding, there were certain tracks where it's like, oh, just put a rubber band on the thumbsticks and set it for.
But I've done that with and see, that's different. Like, for instance, there's a drive around in circle 50,000 times for the trophy. I had to do that with the soccer cars game. There was the last freaking achievement. You had to drive around. And I'm like, God, I'm sitting here for 2 hours. You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna do the rubber band trick. I'm doing exactly what you did. And that was because, I mean, I'm not gonna sit here for 4 hours. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. So, like, there are some games where the grind can be a bit obnoxious. Like I said, the early days of GT7 was that. Now they've definitely loosened up on like the rewards for race wins and things like that. Nice. But the early days when they were rolling stuff back, it's like, oh no, we're not doing this. So, and a lot of people even did like the remote play and then had it on their PC where they ran a script. So it kind of did that anyway. And I think that probably gave Sony an idea. They were like, wait a minute, all these people are doing remote play for Gran Turismo 7 and they're making $2 million every hour. I wonder, they're running scripts. Hey, we should patent something like that. So, maybe it's thanks to the Gran Turismo community, because those early days of the grind were a bit ridiculous, but it's interesting to see. I have no intention of using it, but hey, maybe things will change. Maybe if I'm multitasking sometimes where I'm on my phone, got the TV on with Netflix, and I want a game at the same time, but not be really paying attention to the game. Yeah, maybe it'll come in handy. I don't know. It feels weird.
It's just ridiculous. I'll say that. Look, a couple of comments here, Crispy Bomb. I know you're going to have some slanderous commentary, which I'm here. We're here for. We're here for the crispy truth, if you will. But I have to read these because I was laughing, like trying to hold it in as the host. John Wolf, of course, Mr. Slander himself, says, when we all watch, we all win. Indeed. Let's see. We got another one here from Ricardo Macala. Welcome, Ricardo, brother. Nice to see you in the chat. He says, imagine playing Stellar Cheeks with auto with your hands free. Well, I don't know if they'd be free then.
Oh, my God.
That is great. And, of course, Fillmore Pockets, not to be outdone, says, autoplay already exists. It's called YouTube.
It's called Twitch. Let's go there.
Yeah, that's another good one. Look, again, not the biggest story of the day for sure, folks. I just think that it's just dumb. I mean, they do some innovative stuff at PlayStation. This is just not one of them. Let's talk about it, Crispy.
Are you a gamer? I mean,
I am.
I look, like I don't have a lot of time either. Like I'm bad. Like, you know, I go back to what I love, but I play the game. I actually play it. And this is where I go and say, like, a show like Fallout or a show like Twisted Metal, like, yeah, I'll sit down and watch a show. And if it's good enough, I continue watching it. Okay. I don't want to purchase a game for $70 and then have the option to autoplay it. Why would that be logical? There's no reason to pay $70. I can go watch a movie for what, maybe 20 now, which it used to be like 10, you know, like at the theater, and enjoy it and know that that's what I'm going to go do is watch a movie. I the logic involved is so strange. And this is where you can go back and say, I just said that, you know, TV and movies are pretty big for Sony. Just saying. Are they trying to make their games without actually making a TV or movie series? A TV or movie series? That's interesting thought, because they decided to go all out and patent it. So are you a gamer if you play on PlayStation if they actually go through with this? Or are you a TV or movie watcher? That is up to you as a human being. But I say you're a TV or movie watcher. And, you know, we look at things that innovate. This is not innovation. This is something we already have. Okay, with TV and movie. If you don't have time to play the game, why would you buy it? That is your problem, not mine. But I'm going to tell you right now, if this actually comes to fruition for the gamers that are probably many of them are in the chat, yeah, there's an alternate reason. It's not going to be Netflix and chill. It's going to be autoplay and chill. Okay, people, come on now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that. There's only certain instances where I could see that would be beneficial. As far as being a gamer and actually wanting to control the freaking game, I am sorry. There is no place for this at all. Actually, it is a slap in the face to people that are true gamers that will go and play in an arcade cabinet, to a Nintendo, to an Xbox, to Sega Genesis, whatever it may be. Maybe I'm old school, but I actually played the damn games. And if I didn't play the games, I would say it, and I've always done that. So if you use this and it actually happens, you didn't play the game. You don't understand the mechanics. You have no say. Maybe it's for the journalists that seem to not play games and have somehow a Metacritic score attached to it. Because when you actually look at it and you look at what they said, they clearly, especially if you played the game, they clearly have no understanding of what the game is. So maybe they deserve the autoplay, not me. I'm a freaking gamer, and I will play the game or I will not play the game. And if I don't play the game, I will be honest and say, I did not play the game. This is what I've seen. I might as well watch Twitch at this point. Then apparently I have validity now. And if I watch something on Twitch that I have played the game, that is ridiculous, unnecessary, and stupid. Sorry.
Yep, I couldn't end it better myself. Honestly, I just think that it is ridiculous that this is even a suggestion. There are going to be people. I see a lot of really good comments in here. Like if you order play, beat a game. Should there be something like an asterisk next to it? I see people saying, should it be marked as that you auto-played it? I don't know how they would do this. You know what? I just think it's so dumb that they're just not going to do it, but it's Sony. It is Sony. So,
Yeah.
they
No, I
they
like.
could get.
I was going to say I like what Crispy said as far as like for the gaming journalists, gaming
Oh
journalist
yeah, that's
mode,
a good one.
and I wonder if the reviews start being like auto played. Hey, it's almost like AI generated, but a human is involved, kinda.
It's like
Just
the
sitting
auto
there.
driving on a Tesla. I mean, come on.
Yeah, true.
Oh man. Again, just not the biggest story of the day, but just a dumb one. And it's so dumb. I felt that we had to have a conversation and just laugh and point at Sony and just laugh at them. I'm sorry. Let me catch up on super chats, gentlemen. We have a good one to get into. Well, it's not a good one. It's actually disappointing. Now, obviously, BlizzCon is a big event. It's so big that people fly from all parts of the country where they live and they converge wherever the BlizzCon is. I believe it's usually in California, if I'm not mistaken. And wherever BlizzCon is, people, thousands of people flock to this. Blizzard is a company that's beloved, even though they've had a lot of internal issues. They haven't delivered on some things, but some things they have, like Diablo 4. Most people absolutely loved it. There is an expansion releasing this year. Well, they announced that they are skipping 2024 in favor of multiple global events to showcase other games like World of Warcraft, Diablo, and others. But I'm sure a lot of these events are going to be digital. I think they're going to be pre-recorded stuff that you can watch on Twitch, but that's not what the people want. We're going to get into why this happened, because there was some talking, like as soon as it happened, that this is okay. This is a Microsoft thing. They're putting the kibosh on this. We got some clarification from Blizzard themselves, but we'll get to that in a hot second. JMac, generous friend of the program, drops an outstanding $5 super chat and says, proof that PlayStation knows their fan base doesn't play games, so they decided to help. That's freaking fantastic. And Kay Asante, he's been a channel member, ladies and gentlemen, for 2 years. Kay, that is crazy generous of you. Thank you so much for that. He says, good day, gamers. PlayStation autoplay mode, aka Gajima mode, you hit play and put the controller down, turning PlayStation games into cutscenes. Just kidding. The show. Well, he loves the show. Well, thank you. We love you as well, Kay. Thank you so much for that. And he is going to be in LA with me and a bunch of other really amazing content creators. Let's effing go, Kay Asante. Carmine in the chat drops a very generous $5 super chat. And Carmine says, as of 2022, 96.3% of patients are never used are never used in practice. So based on history, this more than likely will never actually happen. I mean, I hope not. I don't think it should be a thing. But if they're patenting it, listen, companies patent stuff all the time. That doesn't mean this is a lock. I just think that it's Sony and they do stupid things. I'm going to pull a line from Fuzzy Belvedere: play stupid games, win stupid prizes. He says that all the time. So there you go. But Carmine, thanks so much for being here, brother. And thank you so much for the generosity. Tim the Sorcerer drops a very generous £2 super chat. And he says Sony will autoplay game for 2 hours and then block the refund.
Oh my God.
You're not wrong. You are not wrong, brother. That is a great one. Oh my God. The chat is amazing today. Sapo drops a very generous $5 super chat and says, you ponies better slip up on your hooves, fill your feed bags and with sugar cubes, and support Stellar Blade. Stop talking about gaming and play games. I mean, that's why there you have a console, right? Play games, folks. Interesting. John Wolf, not to be outdone, drops a very generous $5 super chat. And he says PlayStation created the autoplay feature for Jim Ryan prior to his retirement. He was tired of not being able to beat his games. You ever see how he holds the controller? like this. That picture of him, it's ridiculous. By the way, it's a Starfield controller, not a PlayStation controller, but it's the only thing I had in reachable. But good stuff, John, as always. JJ saying 117 drops a very generous $2 super chat and says, imagine playing games with your mind. I mean, that would be kind of cool. I'm kind of hoping at some point, because I'm getting old, so I'm hoping that their Ready Player One is a reality, so I could be young in some world and just go ham on gaming. That would be dope. Which is why I like that. Oh wow, we have a very generous $10 super chat dropped in from your baby's Farva. So what's up, brother? Good. Hopefully you're having a great Friday. He goes on to say, you and your panel always put on a great show. Boom. Oh, that's very kind of you. Thank you so much, dude. We appreciate the generosity, but the kind words go leaps and bounds for me personally. He says, currently listening before lunch on vacation in the sunny Dominican Republic. Well, good for you, dude. Enjoy yourself. I'm not going to say have a tequila on me because I don't drink, but, have a Dr. Pepper, or even, get crazy and throw some lime into that ginger ale, which is what I eat. Thanks so much for that, brother. Love you, and I appreciate the generosity. So, look, let's get into this story. This was posted yesterday. It was by Jez Corden. Obviously, I'm a big fan of him. I friend of mine. I met him in real life in 2019. I don't know for sure. Maybe he's gonna go to whatever the Summer Games Fest, E3, whatever it's called. This year, I would like to hope that he's going to be there. I'd like to run into Jess, maybe have a Dr. Pepper with him. He wrote this story, and the lead title says this, folks. BlizzCon is skipping 2024 in favor for multiple global events to showcase World of Warcraft, Diablo's expansion, and more. Now, this obviously was also an article that had some contributions from Sam Talbert, who also works for Windows Central. Now, they had some things here which is what I love about the way that they write at Windows Central. When you go to start the article, they have a what you need to know section. I love that because it kind of really does break down what you're about to, read. And their articles are usually very beefy when it comes to, information. So in the what you need to know section, ladies and gentlemen, it says this: BlizzCon is Blizzard's famed convention event, typically annualized and held at the Anaheim Convention Center in the United States. Since 2005, BlizzCon has served as a primary platform for sharing major World of Warcraft, Diablo, StarCraft, and Overwatch news. This year, Blizzard has revealed that BlizzCon will skip 2024 in favor of multiple global events instead. BlizzCon is not canceled, however. It will return in the usual format in the future, but there are no specific dates or years as to when that will happen. Finally, we have here an update. Blizzard confirms the decision was made internally at Blizzard and not by the higher-ups of Microsoft. Now, let me read you the update for context, folks, because it's incredibly important to why you should just calm down, because it wasn't a Microsoft thing that put the kibosh on this legendary convention. It was updated yesterday at 2:35 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and it goes on to say this: Blizzard Entertainment confirms to Windows Central that the decision to skip BlizzCon 2024 was made by Blizzard and not by the higher-ups at Microsoft. When this news initially broke, some speculation on social media questioned where the decision came from. So we have an actual press release that I'm going to read from you verbatim. This is a Blizzard decision. We have explored different events formats in the past, and it isn't the first time we're skipping BlizzCon or trying something new. While we have great things to share in 2024, the timing doesn't line up for one single event at the end of the year. And this comes the way of a Blizzard spokesperson telling Windows Central. And they go on to say, finally, in closing, instead, we want to focus on highlighting individual games and their moments. Warcraft's multiple anniversaries, the upcoming release of World of Warcraft, The War Within, and Diablo 4's first expansion, Vessel of Hatred in particular. Okay, so again, the world isn't ending. I just think that a lot of people look forward to this kind of event, Fuzzy Belvedere. It's an event that brings in cosplay unlike anything else. Like when you go and you see San Diego Comic-Con, they're amazing, right? New York Comic-Con is another one. I dressed up as a division agent. Oh my god, it feels like a long time ago. And it to be with all of these cosplayers, I felt like such a great big old nerd. It was freaking amazing. But BlizzCon is legendarily known for its cosplay. And the fact that, listen, I don't know, I don't have the books in front of me, but when they say they're going to have multiple events, it's not going to be physical events. I'm sorry. I'm just taking a shot at here. It's probably going to be digitally, produced events where either they're going to try and do some stuff live on Twitch, maybe do some stuff live on YouTube, but I would almost guarantee that a lot of this stuff, Fuzzy, is going to be digitally produced, and it's going to be, just thrown up on YouTube or on the socials. It's not something you're going to be able to attend. That is pretty lame, considering people are excited. There's some big changes happening, especially when it comes to the leadership at Blizzard. I don't know if any of that particular change had anything to do with this, but what are your thoughts on it? Are you disappointed as a fan? Have you ever been to BlizzCon?
Never been to a BlizzCon. I wouldn't say I'm disappointed. It just, I think if anything, it's probably the best year to skip, as opposed to, have one that's kind of thrown together and then, skip the following year. Because like you said, leadership change, Mikey Barr is no longer there. And they've canceled one IP that was, having its own woes and struggles as far as the engine that they were using for, what was it, Odyssey, I think it was.
Yes.
So with that being said, it allows them to put more focus on Diablo 4, because that expansion is kind of what I'm waiting for before I hop back to Diablo 4. I've played a good bit of it. And I think I've participated in at least 2 out of the 3 seasons or something like that. But they want to make sure that they get their Diablo 4 players back for the expansion, because they've had some roller coaster, highs and lows as far as the player base, just because some of the changes they've made. And they've done a lot to kind of scale things back more in favor of the player. So I think, focusing all that attention on that and doing it as like a streamed event or something like that, or some sort of digital event, I think is probably their best bet. I could see if they have some not so good news as far as some changes that live event might turn ugly with tomatoes flying. No, but in all seriousness, it makes sense for Diablo to have its shine in that regard. I don't think they're really focusing too much on anything new outside of that new character that they introduced for Overwatch 2. And then the World of Warcraft, that's probably the biggest one. I don't know how far away we might get an announcement of a console version. It's been talked about several times. No confirmation of if it's even being worked on or not, but that's something that we could see at the June showcase or something to that effect. But they did announce last BlizzCon that there was I think 3 DLC storylines that they were adding. And that first one, that War Within, being the next big one. I don't know that you really need to have a show to go into more depth on that as far as an in-person thing. Sure, it'd be great for a fan service to have that live event, but I think at this point, until they can get their feet on the ground as far as hit the ground running, get everything smoothed over, not having some of the roadblocks that they ran into with the development of Odyssey, where they're back and forth between a mobile engine and a regular engine. I think it's probably for the best, but we'll see what the June showcase, Xbox's June showcase holds. See if they mix or start merging some of the Bethesda and ABK stuff within that. I think it's a fine time for that. So, yeah, I mean,
I'll tell you this, Fuzzy. I don't even know how they figured that out.
Yeah.
Because you're talking about Xbox Game Studios by themselves has 23 gaming studios. Bethesda has a ton, right? They can have Bethesda literally has in the past had their own show. And now when you add Activision Blizzard King, I would not want to be the producer of this thing.
Yeah. I mean, because like right now, there's QuakeCon, there's the Xbox Showcase, there's developer directs, BlizzCon being canceled. It's like at some point they're going to have to figure out maybe they should be their own E3. It's like, oh, the first day is Xbox stuff, next day is Bethesda, and then the next day is Activision, or mix them, match them, like maybe Xbox some stuff in the morning on that first day, Bethesda the second half. Start off with Activision the next day, some more Xbox stuff later on in the day. I mean, they have enough studios. They are working on enough projects that essentially they could be their own E3 by themselves. But, given what we'll probably see in June, it'll probably make more sense that this one is canceled and that they try to show the big tent of Xbox as a whole, or Microsoft gaming as a whole, at this June showcase. Or at least that's my thought on it. But, sorry for those that were planning on going to BlizzCon, but there's always 2025, and that will probably be a bigger year because maybe StarCraft will actually be in development, or maybe it's already in development and they'll have something to announce, and maybe some more stuff along those lines. So I think 2025 would be a better showtime to give their fans an update of what's going on and what's being worked on.
I mean, it's a great point. Again, I'm not a StarCraft guy, never have been. I don't think I've ever actually played it. I know that is like tip of the spear for people. If they are in development of one, I actually think it would probably be two. One would be mobile, which would just destroy numbers, right? Like, again, I personally wouldn't play it, but I know that the Asian region of the world would flock to it, and Microsoft would be printing money. If by some chance, and again, this is not a topic for today, we'll get to it once we get an announcement. If there is a handheld and there's a console version that they are remaking or redoing, and that console and that game launch side by side in, let's say, Korea, Japan, or China especially, it's gonna be ridiculous. It's just that's their game. And I think Microsoft, again, this is one of those finite points that people are like, oh, they just want to Call of Duty. Yeah, Call of Duty is a big title. It's a big IP, probably the biggest. But when you start putting all these other stuff around it, you know why they did the investment. Crispy Bomb, let's get your hot take on this. Okay, again, it doesn't probably make the biggest news for you personally, because obviously you're a Gears guy, you're a multiplayer guy. I don't know where your love or your affection for Blizzard games are. But it's a bit disappointing for people that look forward to this particular convention. And I think it's almost like written in stone that the other events that they're talking about to celebrate the anniversaries coming up for World of Warcraft, and of course the big announcement and the big release of the first DLC expansion for Diablo 4, is probably going to be digital. And a lot of people are not going to dig that. What are your thoughts, man?
Well, I mean, we hate seeing shows go away. I mean, we thought we had hope with E3, and then it got trashed.
Yep.
The one thing I think, and look, it might be Blizzard, and they're being honest and saying like this was our choice, but I feel like it's going to be like when Bethesda came in. And you remember, like, they didn't have, anything huge to announce. I mean, yeah, you saw Redfall at the end, and obviously that didn't pan out well. But there was a lot of DLCs and stuff like that involved in the middle. The one thing that they have is that World of Warcraft never been on a console.
No.
So, I mean, that could be a big deal for some people. That could be nothing for others. For me, it's not a big deal. But I'm always that person that says gaming is for what you want it to be. And if you play on PC, you're getting that update anyway. But why not highlight the fact that it's coming to Xbox? And I think, regardless of how you feel about being in the room of BlizzCon, that doesn't mean that it's what you really love. You love the game. You know what I mean? You love Diablo. You love World of Warcraft. That's your jam. And what better way to introduce Xbox to a PC gamer that, hey, sometimes you don't want to deal with the PC. I've seen it from many people. They don't want to deal with downloading drivers and all these other things. They just want to play the game. And you have that option now. It's another option. You can go and buy a Series X or a Series S or whatever potentially could come out in a few years. And you can have that as like, hey, like, okay, I have to wait an hour and a half to play this game because I've seen people do it right in front of my eyes. And I say, you're good with this? Oh, yeah, I'm fine. Oh, okay. Well, this is just what I do. And I'm like, great. I'm going to go play the game now. So having options is great. I just think that they don't have enough to announce to like make a whole, con about it. But at the same time, they probably have enough to announce that can go into another scenario where it makes total sense. And it might actually be more impactful being in that setting rather than being in a BlizzCon setting. And that's possible. It's not end all be all. I don't know. I'm just saying, like, when it comes down to it, I think it would be more impactful to say, Xbox gamers, you can play WoW. And for those console gamers, most of us that really don't dabble, I've never played WoW in my entire life. I haven't. Okay, maybe that's egregious. Maybe you want to throw tomatoes at me. I don't care. I played on PC for a period of time and I hated it. Okay, and this is the early PC. Like, I had a Gateway 2000. Like, come on, people.
Wow.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, like I played Test Drive Off-Road 2 on my PC, and that thing looked like absolute trash. My Nintendo looked better than that for as far as like the games that they came. So I don't want to hear about it. Like, I've been through it all. Okay, I've played on PC, I've played on Nintendo, Sega, PlayStation, Xbox. And the one thing I'll say is once you mold all of those things together and say, you know what, you can play where you want, I think that's where we're going. And I think maybe Blizzard was like, you know what, we see your layout. Can we add something in? You know what, we're good. We don't need to have a BlizzCon this year because we don't have a whole lot. But at the same time, we see the gravitas that having that option to play on your console would mean to some people. And I think it would be more appropriate to be in the June showcase, for example. And, it might be only like a 10-minute block of like multiple DLCs, Diablo, and WoW. And then all of a sudden releasing an Xbox Game Pass. And then you can also play on PC Game Pass. Not a bad thing. Just saying, but they've done this before. They've thrown in the middle some things that you're like, I don't really care, but some people do, and you have to realize that.
Yeah, I mean, it's the truth. Look, at the end of the day, there are what would be considered like extreme fans. Blizzard has those fans, right? BlizzCon is I think the best way I could describe BlizzCon would be San Diego Comic-Con. Like, that's how big of an event it is. And that's how many people tune in and watch it. How many people actually come from different parts of the world to attend. The cosplay is on a freaking another level, and it's a shame. What again, in closing, right? Obviously, we're going to get ready to do some outros here, folks. But in closing, for me personally, the concern was, hey, there wasn't a hey, we'll be back next year. Well, the message is, hey, we'll be back at some point. That's not confidence building for me. That's like, okay, you're skipping this year. The couple of years that they did skip were during COVID. You had to skip that. Everyone skipped it. Even E3 skipped it, for crying out loud. So I don't know if I walk away with confidence. I just hope that something that is considered to be a part of the DNA that makes Blizzard who they are does not go away in favor of, hey, let's cheap out here. Let's not do a big convention and do like these little mini ones. The little mini, no one cares about those. And people are going to watch them because there's going to be new WoW news, or potentially a new StarCraft announcement. And that's amazing. And that will get a lot of people to rewatch or show up there when it's in video format. But people want to go to the event. And that is something that is not happening this year. It's a bit disappointing for anyone that was going to go. But more importantly, the non-committal of, hey, we'll be back in 2025. Don't you worry about it. That not being there, at least for me, is a bit of a problem. But let me just make sure I caught up on all the super chats, and we are. Yes, thank you to everyone that had once again donated to help the channel continue to grow in the form of the financials. Again, where do these super chats, where do these channel memberships go? Well, I'm mailing out 5 Starfield coins, one of which is going to be going to the UK. I still don't know the price on that. That's probably going to be a bit pricey. And I'm mailing out another pair of coins to someone else. So all of these things, even though they're 8, 9, like for instance, I go to the post office, one coin is $10, which is egregious. But we committed to this, so we're going to have to eat that money. That's where a lot of these super chats go. So we are always thankful for them. Let's get everyone out of here so you could start your day. I have to actually continue my day because Tyler, my amazing nephew, is going to be staying over the entire weekend. I can't wait because it's like a boys' weekend. We're going to be playing games, going on our missions to find new games, which is awesome. And I got to get the house situated for his arrival after school today. But Fuzzy Belvedere, let's sell your brand, kind sir. Please, by all means, tell everyone where they can find your YouTube channel, which is the best place for anything and everything in the racing genre, as well as find you on other shows and reach out to you on social media.
Well, as always, thanks for having me on, Boom. Greatly appreciate it. Always love being on the show with you, as well as Crispy Bomb. Glad to have you back on a Friday morning, man. Always awesome to hear your takes on things. And thanks to everybody in the chat for watching us, interacting with us. Love your guys' feedback, and hope I answered a lot of the questions that some of you asked me in the chat. And then for those that want to hear any of my rambles and rants on anything gaming related, just follow me on the app formerly known as Twitter or X or whatever you want to call it, at Fuzzy_Belvedere. You can also find me later on tonight on Xbox Ultimate on Fun Speculations channel at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. There might not be a show tomorrow, but just in case, keep your eyes peeled for the Shop Podcast tomorrow, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on PTK Blam's channel. And then on Sunday, 8:30 with 3-Bit for Pixelated Echoes. Just do a search on YouTube for Pixelated Echoes and you'll be able to find us there. But
nice.
Look forward to hopefully seeing everybody back here for Xbox Lunch Break Special, 12 noon on Monday. Hope to see you there. Thanks.
Yes, and we're going to actually, I think what we're going to talk about is, I was inspired by King David, which of course, are you subscribed to King David's YouTube channel? Because if you're not, I'm telling you right now, you're straight up doing it wrong. We got to get King back on here. Obviously, he had the shoulder surgery. I believe it was 2 Fridays ago. He is doing well. We definitely got to get him back on here. he did a video on his YouTube channel talking about the Embracer Group and how it has now officially been set up for a Microsoft acquisition, at least one part of it. And I think that King, well, he's 98.9% right of the time. So I think he's onto something. And it inspired me while watching his video this morning on my way to get everything set up today to kind of talk about that. I think that's what we're gonna cover on Monday, along with whatever else breaks over the weekend, because there's gonna be something. But Crispy Bomb, let's sell your brand, kind sir. Where could people find you on social media, and what steaks are you grilling up, kind sir?
Yeah, you know I love grilling up some steaks. You know, maybe smoking them first, then reverse searing, like all that good stuff. But it's at Crispy Bomb on X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it. Crispy Bomb 28, Xbox Live. You can find me back here on Breakfast with Boom, Friday 10 a.m. You never know what I'll show up though. Just keep that in mind.
Yeah, absolutely. Listen, we love those last minute. Hey, I'm available. I'm jumping in. I love it. Real quick, shout out to TSWS Gaming. That is, of course, Ham Solo, an amazing content creator with Lauk 7, another one who's a Sony guy. And you know what? His takes are priceless. They're pointed. They are a dynamic duo. Another podcast, by God, you should definitely be checking out on a weekly basis. They do multiple shows. But of course, TSWS Gaming did me a favor because I didn't have it queued. So thank you so much, Ham Solo. He actually has dropped the link in for Xbox Frontline News. That is, of course, King David's newly released podcast. And he's been doing it since the beginning of the year. Great stuff always. So shout out to you, Ham Solo. Thanks so much for that, brother. And listen, folks, again, thank you for the super chats. A big thank you and by the way, we almost hit 1,000 live viewers. And I don't know how this stuff actually works, but we actually have right now 928 people. But you know what's crazy? YouTube failing me once again, because we had like 400 people from YouTube. We had over almost 600 people from Twitter. I didn't even know that was a freaking thing. That's the craziest thing. So almost 1,000 live viewers. I would ask the 647 people who may or may not be subscribed to Double Barrel Gaming, come on over, hit the button, one click. Actually, it's two. Click the button, jump into YouTube for a hot second, and just hit the subscribe button. We, Mrs. Boom and I, would greatly appreciate it because we're on the hunt for 15K, and we would really like to get there. We do the work. We put the time in. We love giving back to the community. We help others like you're supposed to do. And you know what? All you got to do is hit the button once. And if you're feeling super generous, like if you are a superhero on your Friday, you can actually hit the bell icon. So every time I go live, you get notified, at least when YouTube works. I don't know so much about these days, but YouTube is just being a little scandalous. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you again for being here. We love that you tune in. We love the comments. And we definitely appreciate the support. And of course, I'm going to close out today's show with something that's incredibly important to me. Hopefully one day it'll be important to you. And that's something that my dad taught us when we were kids. And he would say, Craig, treat others how you want to be treated. And also, it doesn't cost anything to be nice. You live by those rules, son. I can guarantee you're going to have an awesome day. So take care, everyone. And we'll see you next week on the newest episode of Breakfast with Boom.